Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Uchenna. In this video, I want to talk about science, spirituality, and religion. Basically, the differences between them and how, well, just a discussion on these three concepts that take a very major, they are the core, of life and of our existence here. They take up a very major, very big space in our reality and in how we perceive reality. So I'll start with the first one I mentioned, science. What is science? Science was actually, let me say, it was developed over time, over a very long period of time. But it actually started, let me just say officially, according to the research, about 4 to 500 years ago. About 400 years ago, basically. Um, the ideology behind the scientific thinking um, is materiality, basically. It's a paradigm. I won't call it a belief system, but it's a paradigm, of knowledge um, that tries to explain the nature of reality. Well, spirituality, religion, and science, are all attempting to explain the nature of reality and to give us plausible explanations as to what we are doing here, how we got here, and why we're here, basically. So, from the scientific side of the argument, um, we're not meant to take. Okay, let me not use the negative. We are supposed to like knowledge. What is true knowledge? That's the ontology, and the ontology is the nature of knowledge, nature of reality, and according to the scientific paradigm, reality has to be perceived by the senses. What do I mean by that? Like, what is real, is what can be seen, touched, like the felt presence, the presence of experience. So it deals with matter. It deals with we trying to understand the nature, of matter. So basically, the world is made up of matter. Matter, of course, constitutes energy, atoms, etc. So how do we understand what is real and what is not real? If it cannot be, it must, whatever claims that you're making to the nature of reality needs to be verifiable. It needs to be testable. Um, it needs to be reliable. It needs to be replicable. That means if you do it here, then you should be able to do it in another place. So it's based on the experimental method um, of of um, of validating any statement that you make. Like if you say that there's God, then you have to explain. Then you have to show us, where God is, or at least give us evidence. If you say God spoke to you, then there needs to be evidence. If you can audio record it, then that's evidence. So science is based on evidence. It has to be everything needs to be evidence. So those characteristics that I mentioned is what makes it very rigorous. And of course, we have seen the benefits of science in the world. The computer, everything. Like I'm talking about everything from medicine, from the biological sciences to the physical sciences. Um, yeah, so we have gotten a lot out of it. Our modernization basically can be attributed to science fully. So this phone that I have here, is has been constructed based on scientific method. So it works, and we're seeing it work in the real world. We're seeing the medicine, we're seeing how we can tackle problems through the scientific method. It's based on evidence, it can be revised. It doesn't have any strong hold on any view or something. So it's a changeable, malleable system. We understand our DNA, we understand our cells to a large extent. And if you bring and if you make any claim basically that cannot be evidenced, then that claim cannot be said to be true according to the scientific paradigm. And that's the position of the atheist, and it's a very strong position um, because it stops people from making claims that cannot be backed up with evidence or with facts. Um, so it's a very rigorous process for arriving at conclusions. Um, yeah, and we can see it all around us: the houses, the architecture, everything that we have done. Of course, it has caused a lot of destruction too. On the other side, we've destroyed our environment. In order to create goods and services, and we are paying the price already. We know about the climate change. We've seen the Amazon forest, the forest in Africa. All the deforestation that has been going on, and all that, just to get resources. Or we've been digging the ground up to bring out coal, to bring out oil, all the pollution, everything that has followed it. Um, that's the dark side of the scientific revolution. But on the good side of it, it's just been amazing. We've seen all the great results that we can see. So it, his focus is on research, doing rigorous research, and validating your results. Then when you get your results, you have to send it to a group of experts, and you publish it, and people can criticize it. So that's how knowledge has been evolving, and that's the nature of reality. So there are no spirits, no souls, or whatever that cannot be seen. Okay, and you can make a proposition that there are spirits and there are souls, but then you have to bring evidence for it. And if you can't bring the evidence, then what you're saying cannot be considered as real knowledge. And that's the scientific paradigm. That's how it is. Then for spirituality and religion, they are related, um, in that human beings have always been looking for meaning in life. So they walk around um, a different way of thinking about life, and in this way, this is man's search for meaning. So, which science up until now hasn't been able to provide that kind of value-based reality that human beings are looking for. What happens when we die? How do we even live in this world happily? How do I relate with my spouse? How do I relate with my children? How do I relate with people? Just the everyday experience. We can't be drawing inference from scientific studies every day just to make a cup of tea or something. And and what does the cup of tea make you feel like? Yeah. So spirituality has always been there from the beginning. It was there, of course, before science, um, because man has always been looking for meaning. Because we have consciousness, we've been looking for meaning, and consciousness is what is the hardcore problem now of the scientific paradigm. Neuroscience, they're trying to understand how we even experience what we're experiencing. So spirituality has been giving meaning to life for a very long time. Religion, of course, I was raised in a religious environment too. So religion has a book. I'll just speak about the two major religions, that's Islam and Christianity. And even to a larger extent, other religions like Buddhism and the rest, they have a text. It's a book of instructions, basically. And that book of instruction doesn't change because it's the word of God. And that's why the atheists are not happy, with that form of knowledge, because it cannot be criticized, and it doesn't have it doesn't possess within it an ability to modify it based on the changing reality. So for the Christian text, it's a book of instructions that we believe, came from God or was directed by God. So and it cannot change. And it's a book of ethics, basically, that teaches people how to live their lives in the world, how to live your moral life. So it deals with morality. It doesn't really lay claims to the nature. It does lay claim to the nature of reality. When in the beginning, we say that God created the world, and the scientific evidence for now doesn't support that. Even though they also have the Big Bang Theory, that's more like, I don't know, it sounds like fantasy to me, but they can show how the universe has been expanding over the years. There's evidence for evolution, to some point. So there's a challenge there, with the creationist view of how the world came to be. So that's from the religious aspect. There's always a figure that people look up to. There's an ideal. It's either Jesus, or Muhammad on the other side. And of course they have God too, and Allah, which is God. And in Judaism too, there's God. So there's always an ideal person that there's a father figure, in these books, that we're meant to worship, that give us guidance, that we pray to give us things and to make our lives better. So we use prayers, but in the scientific paradigm, if you say that prayers work, then you should be able to do that same prayer in different places and have the same results. That's the replicability of a proposition. But in the religious and spiritual practices, it's more chaotic than that. It doesn't have to work at every time. So yeah, that's where the problems lie. Although they don't really they're not flowing on the same frequency as such. One is trying to explain our physical nature of reality here, and the other one is trying to bring a moral discourse into it. So then spirituality is somehow in the middle of these two. It's more of an individual experience of life. It has its own continuum too. It has its own polar ends and everything. So, but the general, how would I put it? The general ontology there, of knowledge, is that we are divine and that we are part of the universe, and that we came out of we came out of the universe, and that we are souls that are not just the physical body. In science, we are just the physical body. We're just like machines. Consciousness is in the brain. Everything is just we're just physical beings that just die and go back into the ground. That's it. Spirituality has a different component to it, in that we believe that we are souls, and the world is an ecology, of souls, and for some people, it's not an organized kind of belief, so it's difficult to box it. To box what spirituality means. It can mean different things to different people. People that do yoga, meditation, and whatever claim to be spiritual too, and they belong to one side of the continuum. Then there are people that believe that that there's life after death, and there's whatever we came from the stars or something, and that we chose our life here and everything. Those people are also on a different continuum there too. So it's a very wide range of belief systems inside the New Age spirituality, as we call it. There's the African spirituality, Buddhism falls into this aspect too, because it doesn't really have a god as such, and the aim of those practices, is to improve the human being, is to um, is to teach us, you know, not just moral aspects now, but it's about psychological development. So it's nearer to psychology, which is also nearer to science. And yes, how to use our powers within us, which, I mean, it depends on intuition, vibration, frequency, energy. That's what spirituality talks about. And it also looks at the law of attraction, that how you think and what you believe, can attract things to you in this world. So it's devoid of any God that you have to believe in that gives you instructions on what to do. So you are the God, basically. You are that God that you're looking about. And you are part of, and everybody also is God, is part of the Godhead. And we are all just, like, we are all related, we are all interdependent, we are all together, in a big cosmos of a in a big cosmos that's also God in itself. So we are like a drop, inside the ocean. We're like a drop of God in the ocean of God, basically. And that's what spirituality is about. It's really a beautiful experience, but it's a belief system, because it doesn't depend on any methodical way of verifying its claims. So it makes a lot of claims too, like the religious viewpoint does. But in spirituality, those claims are being tested now by some people that are trying to merge spirituality and science. Like I said, for me, it seems like a psychological experiment that we're doing, and it may or may not be possible to prove those to prove all the claims that are being made on the spiritual part itself. But we know that these things happen. We know that we attract things. We know the power of coincidence, whatever they call coincidence and luck and whatever. Some things are just not random, because we have experienced them in our own lives. We have experienced them over and over and over again. So we already know the kind of behaviors that we do that attract the kind of things that they attract. So if you pay close attention to your own life, you will see the patterns. It's difficult to document this scientifically, but a lot of books have been written, and a lot of knowledge has been organized around it. Yeah, that's how it works. So these are the three paradigms, that people generally that I have seen, from social media, follow to explain the nature of reality. Um, so there are like three different camps, and all of them are subdivided into different camps. So for religion, there are plenty of religions. So, and they all believe that that there's a God that's created the world and is in charge of the world. But the problem with everything, really, for me, is all about humanity, living in relative peace. There can never be 100% peace, but in relative peace. And the problem with religion then is that if somebody doesn't believe in your own specific religion, then they are most likely going to hell or something, or they are infidels, or they are non-believers, basically, and it could lead to some kind of discrimination. But if you can just keep it, if you can keep your religion private to yourself, then we'll have less of the problems that we've had. We know the problems that have arisen in the world. due to religious beliefs, um, very strong beliefs, the extreme beliefs, the fundamentalist beliefs uh, about things that people are ready to fight for, people are ready to die for. Are there things worth fighting for? I don't know. Um, is there anything worth killing somebody else for? I don't know. Is there anything worth dying for? These are discussions that we'll be having later. So today I just wanted to explain the three different views of the world. One is a mechanistic view. That's the first. That's the scientific one. Um, is devoid of any spirit or soul or anything like that. No, we are a product of evolution. And if we don't know something in science, we don't just conclude that it's a supernatural being that did it. There's is open for research, and there's research going on into knowledge that we don't have yet. And if we don't know, then we just say we don't know. That's how the scientific view is. There's still a lot to be explained, but we've seen physically um, what science has done for the world. Not everything good, but good and bad, but more good than bad, I think. Then we've seen spirituality, being implemented recently too, in the form of meditation and other. Everybody's most of the people in the new world are doing in the Western world, are doing it. So that's how it is for them, and basically it's about bringing peace and calm to the soul, and helping us navigate life um, with grace and ease, basically. So it teaches us how to manage our stress, how to manage tensions, just to understand why you're here and what you're here to do. I know there's a lot to talk about light workers and how to bring light to the world and love, and it's just a very beautiful experience, really. Then religion has been around for a very long time. It's not one concept, and there are different religions. I think the old one is the Judaism that gave birth to the Christianity and Islam. I'm sure there are plenty other, but these are the major religions that billions of people subscribe to. And and yeah, it's a very thriving belief system. It's beautiful. It teaches people, how to live with their neighbors. It's a book of their moral instructions, on how to live our lives, and they also explain life after death. So that's the belief system there. I hope I wasn't just rambling. I'll do another discussion on this later. Thanks for listening, and have a beautiful day.